Hello, everyone. Moving on with our STEM presentation. There are a lot of societal issues that come up when you talk about STEM education. One of them is that there are really high STEM teacher attrition rates at Title I schools. Um, in fact, it's 70% higher than the same positions at Advantage schools. And because of this, most like emergency certified STEM teachers end up at Title I schools, and there's a higher proportion of STEM teachers that are certified in this kind of on this kind of emergency basis because there are fewer STEM teachers, and so there's a low supply, and so schools end up having to just have an emergency certified STEM teacher, and a lot of the schools that need those STEM teachers are Title I schools. So what this means is that underprivileged or minority populations are less likely to be offered STEM courses because the school may not have the teachers. Um, but even if they do have the teacher shortage in STEM in general causes the quality of the education in high poverty schools to be lower. So you have children who are most in need of high quality STEM education receiving it the least often. Um, there is inadequate STEM preparation for minority students, and that's just true across the board. And because of that, there's inadequate minority representation in STEM careers, and it's not because there's not enough STEM careers out there. STEM careers fields are substantially under recruiting minority groups, and that begins long before college and career. It starts at home and in the schools. So here's a breakdown of who was working in science and engineering in 2015, and I've looked at the numbers, and they're fairly similar. They've gone up a bit, and you can see that there's a huge disparity. African Americans and Hispanics specifically are very underrepresented in STEM careers, and part of the reason for that is that they tend to go to schools that are have higher poverty rates. And so all the problems that we just talked about arise. There's a lot of teacher attrition. There's not enough teachers. The teachers they do get have been emergency certified or they're not as high quality. And so there's just a lot of societal issues that are focused around STEM education. And again, some of the ways to sort of solve these problems have been brought up before, to pay STEM teachers more, or to pay more for teachers who will go to a Title I school and teach STEM. And lastly, STEM can positively impact the family because a good STEM education can prepare students to engage with problems that face their community. As I talked about before, when you integrate science, technology, engineering, and math, you can have the kids working on projects that are actually relevant to their communities, and it helps them to engage, which is a benefit to everyone. In addition to that, 1 million STEM jobs they think will go unfulfilled by 2020, so there is a lot of opportunity. That's a lot of job opportunities that are just waiting for anyone who wants to go into a STEM field. In addition to that, salaries for STEM workers tend to be higher than average, which means that if you're a child who has grown up in poverty, this offers an escape from poverty if you pursue a STEM career. But as I said before, minorities and those in poverty who grow up in poverty are underrepresented, and it's because of all the reasons and issues that we talked about before. So here are my resources. I learned a lot from doing this presentation. I think one thing that I learned is that it's one thing to talk about making sure that we have STEM in our schools, but it's another thing completely to actually implement that. And what I see from my research is a need for major policy changes in several areas. One is in teacher preparation, and the other is in teacher compensation, at least for STEM. Personally, I would like to see all teachers compensated much better, but I think if our society wants to continue to advance and wants to become first in the world in technology and engineering, which currently we are not, we're going to have to make some changes in the way that we approach STEM, especially in terms of teacher training and compensation, and then how we further the kids' access to good STEM education. So that's my presentation. I hope you learned something and enjoy.